is this is the app bar. So this hasn't been introduced in these slides, but you can swipe from the bottom or you can right click on the app and that'll appear. What we're seeing here is a flyout. So that's an additional control that when you tap Add City, this little pop-up thing will animate in. And one thing that you want to do is for this sort of transient, what we call transient thing that's just temporarily on the screen, you want to have what's called light dismissal. So if I tap somewhere else on the screen, that should just dismiss itself, and the app bar should hide at that point too. So flyouts also, they should always appear adjacent to the item. So we clicked Add City. That flyout should appear right centered on Add City as much as possible. What I mean by that is it shouldn't pop up in the center of the screen. You know, that might be a traditional thing that we might do. The alert box might show up in the center of the content. We want to keep it close to where the action was performed, mostly for touch. So, you know, with mouse, it's like I can go to the center of the screen, that's fine, but with touch, I want to stay right where I am because it's an ergonomic issue if I'm having to jump around the screen constantly with my arm. So that's that. So, and this is integrating commands into context, right? So we've got a game here. It's like a classic runner style game where the guy's running across the screen, maybe tapping to jump and these sorts of things. In this case, having this pause command right on the screen, this is a game. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to have some Chrome for that. I can just put that right on the screen in this case because having an app bar swipe up while I'm playing a game, maybe now because I have to use that edge gesture, it's going to mess up my game. So that pause button's okay in this case. They said it's just guidance. It's not a written rule that you have to follow all the time. Leverage the edge. So we talked about the app bar, and we've talked about briefly about contracts, the search and settings, and those sorts of things. The app bar is from the bottom and top edge. So what we're talking about here is this is touch device time. So if we're swiping down from the top or swiping up from the bottom, we're going to bring up the app bar. And if we swipe from the right edge in, we're going to bring up the charms bar. The charm holds search, share, settings, and devices, and app bar holds your app commands. So coming back to this, right? I didn't talk a whole lot about this top section of the app, but there's a lot of stuff up there that is important, but doesn't need to be on the UI all the time. And we kind of talked about how to show this content, but we didn't talk about what we did with all that stuff up there. So search would go into the search contract, which, as we discussed, is in the charms part on the right. Settings goes to the settings contract, also in the charms part. We have list view and details view. That can be a toggle in your app bar. Add feeds, that's a command button in your app bar down at the bottom of the screen. Right? So the refresh button, again, that's a command button down in your app bar. So all of those things at the top of the screen, right, we can put that somewhere else so that it's not always on the screen. It's available to the user at all times, but it's not always in their face. So what's that look like here, right? This is the app. There's the app bar, right? There's my add feeds and my refresh button, as I talked about before. So that's where those items would go. The other ones are hidden away in these charms, right? We've got search, we've got share, we've got settings. We don't need those buttons on the UI at all times. Users are going to get used to this. They're going to be using this across all the apps. So conform to this. You'll fit in with the rest of the ecosystem.